Hi everyone, it is time to go down the informative rabbit hole. So I want to give you just a quick overview of the assignment and what you can expect coming up. So first of all, when in doubt, always go to modules right here. And here we are, we're in basically our virtual classroom. I'm going to scroll on down to week 4, if you can believe that. At the end of this upcoming week, we will be 25% done with this class. And for the 8-week course, you'll be halfway. Isn't that crazy? I know. So if you look right here, you've got the overview of what we'll be doing. You've got weekly reading. You've got the PDFs to look at the material, the chapters for the readings. And then you've got the guidelines of the rubric. We'll have a lot of research resources because there is an academic requirement. And then there's a bunch of recorded lectures this week to help you strategize putting your speeches together. We have the discussion and a quiz. So if you go back and just click on informative speech guidelines, you're gonna see what you gotta do. This is what you got to do. So make this a little larger. So first of all, an informative speech is where the student becomes the teacher. You are going to be teaching us about something. Now, hopefully it's a topic that you like. And I was looking at the topics discussions in the discussion board from last week about let's talk about topics. And you guys have come up with a lot of good ones. So I'm excited about this. There's nothing worse than working on an assignment that you don't like. And there's nothing worse watching that. Like, I don't want to watch your speeches and think, oh my gosh, that's 5 to 7 minutes, I'll never get back. You know what I mean? So always in this class, pick topics that you care about, that you're excited about. So in this case, next week we'll be talking a lot about how do you teach people? And there are a lot of things that go into that. Learning styles, your generational issues, whether you're an adult learner or a beginning student, lots of stuff. So we'll be talking about all of that. Now, one thing I do want you to note, a couple things actually that I think are important. One is informative speaking is not persuasive. So this is a speech where you are just teaching us about a topic with no bias. Later on, when we get to persuasive speaking is sometimes informative because you got to teach people stuff to get them to make a decision or go register to vote or go somewhere on vacation or agree with your point of view. But in this case, and for this moment in time, we are just giving the facts, Jack, all right? The other thing that's important to think about as you start to strategize your time management for this speech is that you have to have 3 to 5 people in your audience. Let that burn, just let it burn, everybody, 3 to 5. Okay, that's the minimum. And if you've watched my video about what does public speaking have to do with you, then you already know why it's important to have that audience. And if you haven't watched it, well, go watch it already. All right, you have to have a minimum requirement for this speech or you're gonna lose 40%. And this one is getting up there in the points. So 40% burns. So you don't wanna lose those points, all right? So plan ahead, think about Zoom. I know I talk about Zoom all the time, but you can make those speeches happen with an audience remotely and it's no problem, all right? It's a fix. So think about getting that planned ahead and getting it on the books in advance, not waiting to the last minute, all right? So everybody's topic is too big, okay? Everybody's topic is too big already because topics are huge. Every topic is huge. And we're gonna be narrowing them down. So we'll be narrowing them down next week and I'll be talking to you a little bit how to do that and how you choose what to talk about. But this speech is very clear cut. It's intro, body, conclusion. I have a lecture that you'll be looking at that is modeled after this assignment. So if you follow that assignment, it'll talk you right through putting it together. And this one is intro, body, conclusion. So you're gonna tell us what you're gonna talk about, you're gonna talk about it, and then you're gonna review what you talked about and make sure that we know that you started and make sure that we know that you ended, all right? So you'll end up with about 2 to 4 main points for this speech. This speech is the first really academic speech, and you will need 3 to 5 academic sources to fulfill the requirement for this assignment. Legit data, all right? No Wikipedia, no just Googled it, no my aunt's cousin's sister's brother's neighbor said once, no. All right, this is where you need to be able to do academic research, and I have a lecture for that too. So in this case, in the first column category, these are the sources that work. This is the data that works. Scholarly peer-reviewed journals, which you'll find at the library. We're gonna go to the library, don't worry. Number 2 is books. Number 3 is academic encyclopedias. Number 4, you could use one magazine and you could use one reputable newspaper. Reputable though. All right, so if it's Casey Jones Gazette, don't use that, okay? It's all fake news. But if it's Washington Post or LA Times, you can usually use those as long as you're not using opinion editorial. All right, so opinion editorial is when someone like Casey Jones just writes an opinion about a topic, submits it to the paper, and they print it. So that's out. But the scholarly sources, as I've listed them, are ones that you can use, and you have to have a minimum of 3 to 5. You can have more, but you have to have a minimum of 3 to 5 of those sources. After you've reached that requirement, then you can go on to .edus, .govs, and .orgs, okay? But you have to reach that academic source requirement first. So if you had 2 academic sources, you'd say you had a peer-reviewed scholarly article and a book, so you have 2, and then you had one .edu, would you make the requirement? Right, you wouldn't, right? You'd still be one short over here on the academic source requirement. So just be sure you're aware of that as you're working through your data and research to make sure you meet that requirement. In this particular speech, you're going to use a PowerPoint, and it's very simple. I want you to set it up when you're framing as if you are in the classroom. So it's not as important that the audience can see us, you know, the students watching your video on the discussion board. It's not as important for us to see it as it is for the audience sitting in your room to see it. And sometimes this is a speech where people use an HDMI cord and hook up their laptop to their television, because that really makes an impact and everybody can see it in the room. But you are going to attach your PowerPoint to the peer review discussion board along with your recorded video. And so we will get to see it when we look at your speeches to do the peer review and when I'm grading. But I just want you to imagine that you're in a classroom or you're in a office environment and you're giving a speech to the people in the room. So if they can see it, you're golden, okay? And then the additional source that you have is something to hand out. So let's say I was going to talk about Dodger Stadium, which is a great topic. There's so much and it's super interesting. But let's say I was going to talk about Dodger Stadium. So I have my PowerPoint, I'm giving my speech, I'm saying next slide please, either to someone that's helping me or I'm moving my slides, or I've set it up on a timer, however you want to do it. And then I brought something to hand out. So let's say that I'm going to bring a catcher's mitt and a fielder's glove so they can hand them around to my audience and they can see what the difference is. That's something I could do. Let's say I'm going to take you out to the ballpark and I'm going to teach you why we have the seventh inning stretch and where did this song come from. So maybe I'm going to bring peanuts and Cracker Jacks for everybody. And at some point I'm going to have everybody stand up and sing the 7th inning stretch song. And I'm going to have the lyrics up on a PowerPoint. I don't know. The magic of this assignment is you can get as creative as you want to be. That's the thing about being a teacher, is that most of those classrooms, whether they're online or they're on campus, aren't that exciting. So we always have to bring the party. And now you're the teacher, so it's your job to bring the party and let this topic come to life. Now, if you are using Zoom or FaceTime or Skype to get your audience together, so you don't have anyone in your room, no problem. All you have to do is attach a link to an outside source that we can follow to learn more. So let's say you're talking about Dodger Stadium and you've included a link for us to go visit the website for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Amazing. Maybe there's a book, like a book that was written a couple of years ago about Dodger Stadium is awesome if you get a chance to read it. And maybe you want people to read the book. So you put a picture of it in that initial post on the peer review discussion board so that I can go, oh yeah, that book looks good. I'm gonna go to the library and get it. Okay, maybe there's a website that talks all about taking a tour of all the major league stadiums in the country and in Canada. Awesome, that would be so fun. So maybe you're gonna include that. I don't know, something that you're going to include so that I can continue my education of your topic after the speech is over, which is the whole point. Right, I want you to capture my attention so that I want to learn more about it. Okay, this assignment is 5 to 7 minutes. All right, just let that burn for a second. Let it burn. You can do it. In fact, you can imagine probably that with so much to talk about in every topic, that 5 to 7 minutes goes like that. So you need as much time as possible, and you also need organization because you're going to be giving your speech, you're going to have additional information on your slides, you're going to have a handout, you've got lots of things to do. And the good news here is that with so many other things to think about and do, you won't even have time to be nervous. This is going to go like butter. All right. And for this speech, you can use 3 to 4 note cards. You can use 3 to 4 note cards to help you get from beginning, middle, and end. Okay. So that's just a quick overview. It's very quick. You're going to, of course, submit your assignment. Let's just review that. We'll go back to modules and I'll remind you of where you're going to submit everything. Let's go down to week 4. So when it comes time to submit, you're going to speech 3, informative speech assignment, written speech goes here. That's where your formally written speech goes. And then speech number 3, informative speech, peer review discussion, recorded speech goes here, is where your recorded speech goes and your PowerPoint. And if you used a remote audience, whatever that ancillary source is, okay, that goes there. And so that's what's going on. That's it. How does that sound? I think you can do it. And I want you to, of course, ask all the questions you need in the virtual office to make sure that you get what you need to make these speeches awesome. All right, so that's it for now. Have a great day, and I will see you on the discussion board. Bye.